Good afternoon. It's my great pleasure to greet you all. Thank you for the invitation. I agreed at once because it's extremely important to communicate with the young people, to communicate with the residents of Kyiv, to be on the same page, to know what the challenges are and how to address them together. To that end, we come together, we conduct discussions, we exchange opinions, we make very important steps in order to overcome those difficulties. And each and every one of us is asking him or herself, when will this war be over? When will we be able to get back to normality of sorts? When will the time come when we don't
в укриттях, бомбосховищах, але ніхто не може зараз на це питання відповісти. І
There's no sound. Thank you. And I would like to send out this key message to you. It's in the nature of human life that only strong are respected. So strong we should be. Strong individually, strong inside the country, strong when we talk to our partners. The capital city is extremely important because it is the basis of our capacity to stand up to the challenges of today. And I keep asking myself, what's the purpose of destroying a civilian city, destroying our infrastructure, killing our people, civilian residents? Because Russians claim that they only target military installations, but that's not true. They destroy our energy infrastructure facilities, they destroy our HPPs, our substations. They want us to be depressed, to be weak. They want us to stop resisting. They want us to leave this country and leave it vacant for the Russians. They don't need our people, they only need our land. And that's what they've proven several times, many times so far. In our civilian city, and I'm speaking about civilians only, we had over 300 casualties. These are civilians who were killed by Russians. More than 30 children are among that. More than 2,000 houses are either totally pulverized or badly damaged, whereas cruise missiles, with ballistic missiles, with the Shahed drones. And I remember when I was in the team of first rescuers at the hit site, I found several small balls, and those were parts of the cluster munition. Their purpose is extremely to kill people, to kill civilians, as many of them as possible. And that's exactly what we face on a daily basis. And despite all, we work hard to defend our civilians, to make sure that the city continues to provide services, public services to the population, to its residents. We have 300,000 workers of different areas that contribute to the war economy. That is a city within a city. Then we have to think about public transportation, about medical institutions, educational institutions, utility services that provide heat, electricity, water to the residents of Kyiv. And we have huge shortage of people. We have more buses than the bus drivers, because bus drivers are mostly men, and men have been mobilized, have been recruited to go to the front line. So now we have to train women to be bus drivers. We have huge shortage of construction workers, of electricians, of the heat engineers, but still this city is standing tall and it continues to provide services. The challenges are immense and extremely difficult. But yet again, we have to be strong, we have to be resilient, we have to contribute in our respective places, in our respective capacities to help this city survive. But what irritates me, what makes me incredibly angry is that our enemy does not understand us, but some of the politicians play into their hand when they start talking about potential speedy and soon elections. Now, Russians are not interested in Donetsk, Luhansk, or the Crimea. They are interested in capturing Kyiv, in destroying Ukraine as a country, depriving us of our statehood. So it is a matter of our future, of our independence, of our sovereignty, and we should do our best to rebuff this aggression, to retain our people in homes, to preserve our country, our sovereignty, and our independence. And some politicians now think about future elections rather than about the future of this country. That's very wrong. They behave as if it is not their war, if it is not their cause. More than 300,000 Kyiv residents are now serving at the front line. And we, the city, have been deprived of the development budget because 10 billion hryvnias were donated by the city to the armed forces of Ukraine, but we were deprived of the development budget. And yesterday we donated another 800 million hryvnias to support our defense forces. These are challenging times indeed. I won't be telling you about our budget difficulties, but we need to make sure that the infrastructure is up and running, that the city is operating, and that the residents are served. Another thing that makes me red under my collar is that the city is being robbed in violation of the constitution, of the budget code, of the national legislation. As I said, it was robbed of 8 billion hryvnias. We would have understood it had this money been channeled to the armed forces of Ukraine. But this money was transferred to the Ukrainian Rail, which is a very dignified, very honest company, but it was used to give kudos to everyone in Ukraine, even those people who are not people in need. But you will know that we in Kyiv have lots of questions related to that. So we have to find answers to those questions. I'm not here to complain, to express my grievances, but rather to raise certain issues that we can discuss together and address together. And we are working against time, against all odds, to keep this city alive. And very few people know what needs to be done so that people have electricity in their houses. Very few people know what needs to be done to water supply to be available, and nobody seems to be interested in that. But dozens of thousands of people work around the clock to make sure that we are alive and kicking. But we are holding the line, aren't we? Yes, we are. Yeah. And we are strong, and we do not miss punches. No, punches we don't miss. Right, and I would like to thank, I understand that we have to finish this introductory speech. Yes, indeed, I will stop soon. You know, the position of the mayor is a demanding one. The schedule is punishing. I used to be a member of parliament together with Arseny, and the mayoral position is rewarding. Because whereas parliamentarians declare certain good things, we are there on the ground to change people's lives for the better every day. So it is rewarding on the one hand, but on the other, there are lots of things that are beyond your power, that are beyond your reach. And I would have never coped with this challenge but for the wonderful team who support me. So now we will have a panel discussion, and we will discuss the issues that you've raised together. You are a moderator, you can moderate, and I will be answering the questions for it not to turn into a speech. Now, a round of applause to Vitali Klychko, Kyiv mayor. Now we will have a panel of very esteemed citizens, and we will be discussing how the capital city responds to all of those hits and other challenges. When I after the sleepless night go out of the shelter, I see that the waste is managed, the garbage is being collected, the water is running, the electricity is there, and as I said, coffee is brewing. So we've spoken a lot about technologies. We are all surrounded by technologies right here and right now, and we see how, thanks to the intellect, how human intellect, how to the technologies we manage to move ahead. So technologically we are very advanced, but ethically we return to Plato's literature, and we still get inspirations there. So in these times, how can we balance, how can we remain human beings, again, despite all of the challenges of today? So now I will be giving the floor to, or inviting the panelists. It's Serhii Volynna Volynskyi, Marine Corps veteran, hero of Ukraine. Olena Tolkachova, head of the Patronage Service, 3rd Army Corps. Their service is called Angels. Then Yuliia Chykolba, Country Director, Center for Information Resilience. And Oleksandr Teren, Budko, veteran and civic activist. And Vitali Klychko, Kyiv mayor.
Mr. Klychko, please come back to us. Wherever you like.
I'd
like to start by asking Serhii. First, you are a legendary person. You've been through Azovstal, you've been through the hell of Olenivka, the Russian captivity. Now you're helping our Marines who have been through captivity, who have been through hell on earth. In your opinion, where's the source of resilience of those people and yours? Thank you. Greetings, everyone. I believe for us, the families are our source of resilience, first and foremost, and the trials that lie on the shoulders of our first responders, railroad workers, and all those who provide the livelihood of our country. All of them encounter terrible challenges of the war, but we all do this for the sake of our families and for our country in general. But for as long as our country stands, individual people pay with their life and health for that. Olena, your patronage service first, it was called Angels. I think you were the first to establish this service, which is called Patronage in our country. You work with the bereaved, you work with the relatives of those who are at the front line. What are the topics that people still refuse to talk about in the context of this war? And what price do we pay for this resilience? Well, you said that moral principles fail to catch up with the technologies which are being developed, if I understand you correctly. What I see in our society is that the society has not yet fully grasped the entire importance to afford proper respect to those who defend us. A lot of is being said about having to respect veterans, to support them, to help them. People say that we have to support the veterans coming back from the front line so that they would not create any risky situations in the society, because these are people who are trained to kill, and we have to do our utmost to help them reintegrate with the civilian society. But all this is kind of artificial. As a matter of fact, we just have to learn to understand them and to help them from the bottom of our hearts. Not in order to prevent them from doing something, not in order to prevent them becoming criminals, but simply out of respect. And once we manage to demonstrate our respect properly, this will be the answer, the way we do it in our core. We do not leave anyone without our attention. Even those who leave the army for health reasons, they are within the scope of our attention, and they know that they always can come back to us for help. And this is the expression of respect that we accord them, and the sign of a moral resilience of the society. Our society should emulate patronage services and charitable funds which deal with the problems of veterans on a daily basis. And we have to try to do as good a job as they do. And that does not require huge sponsors, funds, or large projects. You can just help a veteran to come to the hospital, to get to the hospital, and help them talk to the doctors, because very often our veterans get negative feedback about the war from hospitals and doctors. Like, for instance, some people say, we did not send you there, and it's really painful for the veterans to hear that. This is pure disrespect to people who volunteered to defend their country. Now, even though we almost never hear phrases like that, but the very conduct of certain services show a obvious lack of empathy. So people should be alert to that. They should not be persuaded. They should not need being persuaded to do this. All this should come straight from the heart. People who came to the front line, they made their choice, and they were ready to lay down their lives for you. Now ask yourself, what can you offer this person? At least it should be respect and support. And the society should understand this, finally. Thank you for these words. Well, obviously, when some people complain that the streets are blocked at 9 o'clock when we observe the moment of silence, it says a lot. Irina, you were wounded in 2022, and you've witnessed the change in attitude to the veterans in our society. Have there been any changes in these attitudes?
Прямим, так, менш красномовним, то, напевно, якби...
Well, I'd like to be straightforward here. If we had some real changes for the better in our society, probably we wouldn't have to raise this issue at each and every forum that we hold. This is not the first forum I attend, and time again we speak about how important it is to afford a proper respect and reverence to our veterans, which means that things are not changing.
Ми повинні навчитись поважати хоча б один одного.
But before we start respecting veterans, we should learn to respect each other and understand that we are all citizens. So we should be mutually respectful. If this is in place, respect for the veterans will come. Just be human, respect your fellow citizens, irrespective of their status, their position, and so on. If you do this, automatically the respect for veterans will come, because it's obvious that a person who defended us automatically should be accorded all the respect we can give.
Трішки песимістично, але форуми це теж, ну, коротше, про це треба говорити, бо
Well, we have to raise this issue.
якби це не буде ніяк рухатись. Тому поки ми говоримо про це, це все ще є, і це все ще підігріває, скажімо, цю тему, всі дискусії навколо цієї теми, бо інакше просто багато людей,
Many people
багато людей, можливо, і не каже, що ми вас туди не посилали.
maybe do not say we did not send you there, but it doesn't mean that they do not think so.
Хотіли б щось сказати.
Maybe a lot of people would like to say something along those lines to the veterans, but they don't, just because this issue is being raised at all the forums and so on. And this is obviously one of the reasons why forums like this should be held, to keep people within the framework of what is admissible. Because indeed, there are cases that when people say things to the veterans which really hurt them. So changes are taking place, but we still have a lot to do in this respect. Thank you, Alexander. Well, obviously, there's a lot of room for improvement, but sometimes we have to give ourselves credit as well, because this is the 4th year of genocidal war against Ukraine, and we're still standing strong.
Після обстрілу там уже каву продають.
Because we see the resilience of people on a daily basis. No sooner have the shootings stop when we see that coffee is served and so on. What is the basically the source of all this resilience, in your opinion, Mr. Klychko? Well, as regards respect, as regards the recognition, who did more, who did less, who deserves credit more or less. I could give you I can give you one story with the two examples.
Психологічно не тяжка функція мене як міського голови.
For me, as the mayor of the city, it is psychologically very tough to visit the hospitals where our soldiers are being treated. Sometimes they are just children in their early 20s,
Без рук, без ніг, без очей.
without limbs, without eyes, badly injured. It's tough to see them.
Мера, на жаль, я повинен це зробити.
Even tougher is another function which I have to
Але у мене немає іншого.
which I have to perform, but I have no choice. I cannot get rid of this function. It
Нагороджувати
comes with a job, as it were. This is the function of rewarding the parents of those who have perished,
за їх дітей.
awarding them for
Це
their military deeds, those who have perished. I'm talking about hundreds of parents,
тому що неможливо.
and it's impossible to find the right words.
Дякую. Пишаємось.
We thank you, we're proud of you. It just doesn't cut it. What words could adequately express what you feel in such cases?
Вони плачуть.
1 month ago, I was awarding parents. They were
Ну, я
crying their eyes out.
одну із маму.
I was at the podium, and
Володимирович,
one mother of our killed military came up to me and she said, Vitali, don't you remember me? I met with you some half a year ago.
мої діти пішли добровольцями.
My children went to war as volunteers, and half a year ago you already awarded me.
Це другий раз.
And this
Я
is
до вас більше не прийду,
the second time. She said,
тому що у мене
I'm not
дітей
going to
більш немає.
come again because all my children have been killed.
Отакі от історії, і після цього ми можемо дискутувати, яку повагу ми повинні надавати, шану і так далі.
After stories like this,
Це життєвий
why should we debate whether we have to give respect to our veterans or not? Life goes on, and it is extremely
людям для того, щоб вони, які повернулись, слава Богу, повернулись для того, щоб вони
attentive and respectful to people who, thank God, came back from the front line, so that they feel that the city is taking care of them, that they are also
робимо максимально.
active and worthy members of our society. That's why we
Зараз ми вже
put
працюємо.
in so much effort in creating rehabilitation centers like in Pushchovaditsa,
Цих
and the
людей,
centers for prosthesis for those who have lost their limbs.
але знаєте, що
We do a lot in that respect, but to
шукати, дискутувати, відповіді, що робити, потрібно з ними.
not to try and look for answers here. We have to talk to these people as much as possible.
І один раз я зробив
Each of them can tell you his or her own history of life. One time I made a big mistake when a boy came to me in a wheelchair and I said, I understand how the world looks from your position. He said, don't say this. You will never understand how the world looks like from this particular wheelchair.
і тому
And that's why it is extremely important to communicate with them, to solve their problems. There are many of them, because many boys will come back, and adaptation to the society. And frankly speaking, this is
Воювали, вони заплатили найвищу ціну. Ти повинен.
this is very important to understand that they fought, you didn't. They paid the highest price, you didn't. And that's why you must understand this social responsibility of this society, and it's important not to leave them alone. Yes, because Russia might also use these problems for making difficulties bigger. Thank you, Vitali, bringing us to the next topic, which I'm going to discuss with Yuliia. Yuliia, I know you had a lot of experience of working in various hot points all over the world, and now in Ukraine with your organization, you're engaged into investigation of Russian war crimes, so working with the evil, observing how they bombard civilians, how they kill little children. What have you understood about the evil? Why Russians are like this? Thank you for the question. It's a philosophical issue. I would like to thank our military for allowing us to talk philosophical here in a safe place and not under occupation. About experience, about evil, Ukraine is not the only war conflict in the world. Yes, in Ukraine there is the biggest war in Europe, but also there's Sudan, Afghanistan, Syria for many years. And unfortunately, we know that that war, it's a frontier situation, and it's a marginal situation which makes people very different. And we have heroic military, we have heroic volunteers, but on the other hand, we see Bucha, Izum, sexual violence during war. We observe a human safari in Kherson, and in fact, this marginal state, and it's not important whether there is a new war or not. In Ukraine, it is a new war, but in Afghanistan, the war continued since the time of the Soviet invasion. But this status, marginal status, becomes even more acute. But the most important aspect is the lack of responsibility, because in 2021 I worked in Syria, and some days before full-scale invasion I was in Aleppo. I saw the ruined city, and I understood that Ukrainian cities will become like would become like that, and they became like that. Shasta, Marinka, Mariupol. For Russia, it's not the first war. Russians invaded Georgia. They haven't got anything. They bombarded Syria with cluster bomb, supported Assad, and didn't get anything for that. So that lack of responsibility as international responsibility, as collective responsibility. Don't say that all Russians are the same, but we say that there is the country which is an aggressor state, and their crimes of aggression should be prosecuted. But in the world, there is a lack of responsibility which is observed. There are international institutions which do not work, not function properly. In Ukraine, there is prosecutor's office. They are looking for military war criminals, and with the aim to prosecute perpetrators. So in fact, there is only one operational mechanism of punishing for crimes is what our military are doing at the front line, killing their enemies. And this should not be like this in the future. There must be mechanisms of responsibility for crimes. But at the moment, the lack of this responsibility allows evil to continue, leaving Russians to continue committing these war crimes. Serhii, there is an expression that army is able to win the battle, but wars are won by nations. Is our nation able to win this war? Thank you for the question. I'm sure that only Ukrainian nation will decide its own fate. Today we saw some peaceful plans, some other stories, but we forgot to ask Ukrainians what do they want and how do they see it. And whatever norms and frameworks they to put this nation in, everything will end the way our nation wants. And we are very different from our partners. According to our sociological poll and research, dignity and honor is not just words, but they form the character of every Ukrainian. And I think that Ukrainians are the most unusual nation who demonstrated many times that at the darkest times we were prevailing, we stayed alive, that every morning we saw the sun rising and everything started again. So I'm absolutely sure that Ukraine should be regarded in a different way because we are historically a very deep and powerful nation. Thank you, Olena. I would like to continue this topic with you because I have an impression that the word victory has disappeared from public discourse for various reasons. Now the objective situation is that not only holidays are approaching, but the frontline as well. What do you think? What, in your opinion, is the point to which we should come when we realize that everything was not in vain? In principle, I don't share this vision, whether it's in vain or not, because a lot of my brothers and sisters have died in arms, have died. Those who grew up with me, I observed how they grew up. They studied and recreated at our kids' camp Azovets. Those were kids, boys and girls, who grew up together with my daughter, who is now serving at the 3rd Army Corps. And unfortunately, many of her friends, whom I knew as 10 to 13-year-old kids, they died, they're killed. And whether it was in vain or not, it's just morally impossible to think in these terms. Currently, we're responsible for those people who died, and we have to stay till the end, until we all are killed or die from old age. We must defend our children, because that point when you stop and think whether it was in vain or not, most probably that will be the point when the nation dies. I don't see any way out
Вже не так обговорюється питання перемоги.
Yes, you said that currently people do not speak much about victory, but now we continue standing, and in fact we are moving towards victory, and while we move towards victory, we will live. When we stop, we will disappear. Thank you, Vitali. You want to comment on this? I'd like to add.
Така, знаєте, непроста тема.
There is a not easy topic.
Успішно
We
захищаємо нашу
successfully defend our country. Why successfully? I would like to remind you, year 2022,
експерти, військові.
the international military experts gave us some days, maximum some weeks, against the strongest army in the world. If you remember, almost for 4 years, Putin has been doing everything, all the possibilities to capture our country, and he can't do this. Once again, I can repeat, while we are fighting, nobody would win us.
Цим пов'язані ці удари.
And that's why these attacks or this attempt to spread depression among the people, everything to ruin everything. But once again, I would like to say nobody will prevail upon us until we fight. Yes, it's difficult, it's hard, lots of losses.
Підняти руки вгору.
But if somebody says raise our hands up and to give up, that would be not a victory, that would be a defeat. And
Тяжка ситуація.
yes, it's very difficult. It's difficult in the front line. It's difficult here, but nevertheless, they cannot achieve their objectives. A number of times
Дати,
they reported certain dates, naming certain dates, and on capturing, or as they call it, liberating Ukrainian territory, and they can't do it. So that's why it's extremely important to support each other, not to struggle inside between ourselves, but to fight against the external enemy with joint efforts. I can give you one example from my life experience, from my life in past life in the sports. When you box, for example, for the third or fourth or fifth or sixth round,
200 і
your heart rate is 200, and the internal voice tells you, yeah, there is no strength, you are tired.
вже не можу, але в цей момент
But at that very moment, you should remember that in front of you there is an enemy whose situation is not better, it may be even worse. Resilience is extremely important component, and this resilience may beat the skills. And I'm sure that we have all the possibilities for this, and we Ukrainians have already surprised the whole world with our will to victory. That's why I believe that we have all the necessary strength to defend our state and to remain an independent state, but not a part of the Russian Empire, which is a dream of Putin.
Thank you. So stamina beats skills, right? If you've been to various countries, compare, and you study different countries, compared to other countries, what makes our resilience unique? As Lena Kostenko said, Ukraine is a unique case. I would not compare that with various other conflicts, because it's wrong to compare people's suffering, human suffering. And of course, we don't have any civil war in this country. But wherever I worked, during conflicts, there was no trust, no faith in the media, in the government, and in all of those countries at war, distrusted one another. And where Ukraine is unique is that back in 2014 and in 2022, we got extremely united. We are skillful in building horizontal ties. A forum like this is a wonderful opportunity to build networks amongst young people. So now you are not alone, you have the whole community to support you. So the true crisis emerges when there is no such community. What we have retained, what we have preserved is the state, the democratically elected government. And that's not always the luxury that people have in other countries with armed conflicts or at war. I've got lots of friends who used to work abroad, but then in 2022 they returned because it is our war and we have to defend our country, our land. So that's the core and the root of our resilience. I can't say we will win by all means, but we have everything it takes to will. I understand that these are very difficult times, but be united, being in the network, being in the community, we will be strong. And Václav Havel says hope is not the conviction that something good will end, but that there will be good at the end. So what can you tell us about your country, a country of people who went to the front to defend their land? That's a philosophical question. We are such a country. We are a country that every Ukrainian is proud of, that the world is amazed at. And we were given several weeks at the longest, and we are still standing. The nation, the country, the people have been fighting for their true independence, for their territorial integrity, for their sovereignty for decades, for centuries. And this will to be free is invincible. It is not for the Russians to kill this well. So freedom is our religion. That's what we said during the Revolution of Dignity. So we are the countries that can lead by example, that shows what it means to be resilient and to be brave. And without redundant philosophy, I would say that Ukraine is a country where I personally do want to live, and I do want to contribute to the well-being and prosperity of this country. So I wish each and every Ukrainian would see the service to their country as a cause that they identify with. And then it will be a country that everyone loves, inside and outside the country. So we are champions in survival, I'm sure of that. Thank you very much for this conversation. There's a lot of food for